having more Black people, just having more, that's a very, I don't want to say quick solution, but I think that that's one of the ways that the community can better help is just by having more of us, because then we'll be able to, we'll know that they can relate. Like, I know at my school, I can probably count on my 2 hands how many Black faculty and staff members there are, and there are like 3,000 students in that building and a whole bunch of faculty, and there's only a few that are Black.
I can count on one hand.
Yeah.
See, and so yeah.
Oh, in the middle school?
In my 12 years of education, our school just hired like our first like Black/African American counselor.
Yeah, and that's
in
just
my 12
ridiculous.
years of education, like this is the first time I've ever encountered.
And see, I would be so much more comfortable going to her because I blacklisted the counselors at my school, I'm not gonna lie. But in my opinion, they haven't helped.
Who are so quick to send you away.
It's like, okay, look at my 3 brochures for each therapist office
And
nearby.
Yes, and from my experience, they're happy when somebody is like, needs help or like in trouble type of like, you know what I mean? And
They get to feel useful.
yes, and that's not how, I don't feel comfortable going to somebody like that. But now that there's a Black counselor option who has been in pretty much the same shoes as us, and like, I mean, I would assume the reason why she wants to work is because she has that experience, and that's why I would go to her.
Some of those same experiences.
The crazy part is the school that me, Gabriel, and Israel go to, like we have a lot of like Black faculty members, and although they may not appear so inside the like counselor aspect, however in like the admin, administrators, even our principal's back, we have a vice principal that is LGBTQ, we have it's just a melting pot. So I just kind of feel like it's easier for a lot of the students in my school to relate with a lot of the faculty members because they have a lot of people representing them in like all areas and all aspects of the school.
More diverse.
Yeah, and at me and Michaela's school, there's one Black college counselor, and I feel more comfortable talking to her half the time about just like struggles that I go through like on a day-to-day basis, and like, I don't know, other people. I guess.
But then again, at the same time, our school, like, the Black college counselor got almost every single Black student in that grade. The one Black advisor in our grade got almost every single Black student in the grade. So it's like,
it's a double-edged sword.
We need to focus more on the rehabilitation side of mental health.
Yeah. I think there's also, a lot of the times people don't realize like equality and equity are 2 different things. And like I've had it explained to me in a way of like someone who is paralyzed from like the waist below, they have a wheelchair. So that's something that they're going to get that obviously I wouldn't need because I can walk. And so it's not always equal, but it makes it fair and it's equitable so that we can both like travel and do things.
I see.
Yeah. And I'd say the same for like Black people. We need a little more help and resources in some areas.
Speaking of that, I think that there should be more Black teachers in schools, not just counselors. And the program I'm planning to go through is called Black Men Teach. And yeah, it's really nice. I'd love to go through that program. I'd love to become a teacher.
That's great. That's great.
I need to talk to you on my senior project then.
Okay, I'd love to hear it.
more Black teachers in schools. And I read somewhere that like Black people are just overall more likely to experience trauma, whether it's generational trauma or systemic trauma, racial trauma, whatever it may be. We are just, given the history that Black people have in this country, we are just more likely to experience trauma and go through hardships in this country. So why the quote unquote like same amount of help is being offered to us, it's not equitable.
I think there's also people that like don't believe racism exists. And they think like, people don't realize Ruby Bridges is like 60 something years old.
Yeah.
Like people are just like, oh, la-di-da-di-da, oh, we're all the same and we all get this.
100
No,
years
that's
later.
that's not real. That's real.
Wait, hold on. How old is Ruby Bridges?
I think she's like 60 something. I'm not 100% sure, but
Oh my
she's like,
goodness.
she's not that old.
I thought that was like
She's
a
well
long
alive
time
and
ago.
still kicking.
And it's the crazy part. The crazy fact is that when I was in middle school, I think it was in 8th grade, this white teacher said the N-word in class, and her whole basic reason and excuse to saying it was because another student said it in class. First off, that baffled me.
You're
So-
an adult. Like,
Yeah,
what
and
is
I'm sorry. That really baffled me. And so I went up to the principals and I told them like, hey, like you guys actually really need to do like a circle, or like you guys really need to talk about this, or else I will be contacting the authorities, and like that's like hate speech at that point.
What's crazy is that's not the first time that this happened. I've heard so
Yeah.
we actually had a teacher, I think last year. Do you remember when that one teacher
She was
got
going through all the ways to say the N-word in class. I was like, whoa.
And then the
Whoa.
teacher, and then another teacher that I had said it, and she was reading it from a book. She's like, well, but she prefaced it before saying it. She was like, okay, guys, so there's a word in this book that I'm about to say, and I'm only saying it so that we can understand the full context, and that, like, gave a whole speech, a whole warning just to say the N-word.
You can still
Like,
give the
you can
full,
literally just
yeah.
like
You can still
pause.
give
Everybody
the full
knows
context.
the word already.
Yeah.
You know the
they have
context
the
of
books
the
in front
word.
of them. We have our books in front
So
of
they
us.
can read it in their minds, they can read it whatever, but you don't have to physically say it, even though you feel compelled to. That doesn't mean you have to.
And I think that that's where it almost is like white people a lot of the times are inherently racist, and so it's like in their brain it's almost like this like, ooh, like I get to do something risky, like
This is my one chance.
No, for real. To them, they're like, this is my only shot.
And
I
that's
finally
what
get to
makes it
do
more
this.
hurtful, because they know that it's wrong.
They know it's wrong, but they're gonna find any reason to justify it. Especially like, how can you be a teacher? And I think that that's like, to even tie it back to the question, is it's just like the fact that there's been so many different experiences of white teachers, like grown adults, deciding to say the N-word, like that in itself is just crazy to me.
Personally, I think that there needs to be like some sort of extra class for like teacher education,
Yeah.
because, or no, just like specifically like about POC students, and like kind of like towards like what they need, and like just something along the lines of like, you need to make sure that you're treating everybody fair and that you're not being a jackass racist.
Because the crazy part is that most of these curriculums and all these like learning-based like stuff that we're learning about is more geared towards children that have had, I guess you can say, a more perfect
Privilege,
yeah. And so it's just like you need to be geared towards something that's accessible and diverse, like to all students.
They have trainings. My mom as a teacher, actually, it's funny because I know that they have those trainings, but attendance is optional. And so they do have those trainings, but sometimes people just don't go. And so, yeah. Very telling.
I personally think we just need a lot more like black teachers and counselors in school, because for like what happened at school, you know, I feel like the teachers would be less comfortable doing that if there was more POC staff.
Yes,
You know, if there was more adults to actually confront them. Because if it's students, teachers they're always gonna be like, you know what, I have more authority than you do. But if it's another teacher or like another counselor, they're going to be a little more hesitant.
I have a great example of that. What is it called? This white old teacher asked me, hey, can I touch your hair? While I was in the counseling office, and there was this, we have a business manager and she's black, and she heard that and she immediately shut that down, and she pulled her to the office, and she basically recounted the whole story to me. She was like, oh, you can't be asking students inappropriate questions as that can be very offensive, and that's microaggressive.
Never ask a white student that.
Exactly. And so she clocked that, and ever since then, she has never done that. So representation matters.
I think another thing too that like I would want to see in a world where black people are thriving is representation that's like equal. So they're like, and I know that there's not the same amount of like different demographics. Like obviously there's more white people in America than there are black people. That's just a fact. But like being able to like, let's say there's a picture of a police department. I want to see more black faces in.
Honestly, just POC, to be
Like
honest.
just representation.
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to touch on like the George Floyd situation. I was just there for like it was like a Vikings meetup where it was like a Thanksgiving cookout where they like came to cater to our Boys and Girls Club, and I went and I got to talk to a police officer, and I got their chief's coin as a collectible, and they said that starting out at their precinct, you can make upwards of $200,000. And I thought to myself, well, I already know why, because after the George Floyd situation, it was just a huge absence of officers. So they're just looking for more. So they give incentive.
As a part-time officer, I asked them that about their pay also, and they're like, as a part-time officer, you can make around $50,000 to $80,000 a year just being part-time alone. And yeah, like, and that's why the reason why they have a lot of college fairs and like police fairs in the whole like Brooklyn Park and just Minneapolis area is because they're seeing those effects now, like how the community like perceives them negatively. Some dreams that I have for the community that is centered around Black youth and Black mental health is just to see positive reinforcement. I want to see Black youth going into places that are meant for them and receiving resources that they can get so that they can get better. Yeah, I just want to see just that type of community.
Yeah, I would want to see more action from, I mean, Black youth obviously, but specifically everybody else. I need other people to start caring because we're caring and we're trying to perceive us, or not perceive, but tell other people, but they're either not listening to us or only like listening a little bit. And I need to have like a full-on panel with like everybody and be like, these are where we're going wrong and this is how we need to help.
For me, I want to see like, I see it all the time where young Black men aren't really given the same opportunity as other people. Like this program, I only found out about it because I was looking for it, and I want it to be public to everybody. And I also want, like, I see some of my friends, not to call them out, but they don't really seem serious about growing up. And it's like the world's coming fast and it's not going to stop for anybody. So I want to see more representation about that so that people can be more prepared for adulthood. So that just leads the cycle of like it getting worse.
That's so real, and I think like all of those are great things, but I think in order for that to happen, it needs to start on the inside. So I'm tired of seeing us kill each other.
Oh.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, it's sad, and we can't expect other people to help us if we can't even help ourselves. So the only way that any true change is actually going to continue to happen is if, you know, we can't pit ourselves against each other. Like, all this gang shit needs to stop. Like, it's not beneficial for anyone, and it's especially not beneficial for us.
Like during that whole popularization of like King Von, like way back in the day, and they're still talking about it, and it just made like the culture towards gang violence like, oh look guys, I'm so cool. Oh.
We're never gonna win this fight if we're too busy fighting each other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Something I want to see is that I don't want to hold my breath every time a cop passes, you know? I also want my community to like speak on mental health, not because someone killed themselves because they had mental health, or not because someone is in a mental hospital because they have mental health. I want them to speak on mental health because it's important. I also want us to like start envisioning us in better places. You know, I think a lot of the time there's, again, lack of representation in all areas, but there's not enough representation of successful Black people that we can look up to, you know? You can't be something you've never seen.
Wow. Yeah.
I hope to see equality, not just between different races, but different pigmentations.
I think some of the changes, and it kind of goes back to all the things that you guys have said, is like when you think of Black people, I feel like there's these images that automatically come to mind, and not all of them are positive. And that to me is hurtful, that a lot of the different stereotypes that we face are so negative that, like you said, it's hard to be something that you've never seen. And I think also, to touch back on what you were saying, is there's so many different issues that we have with each other, such as, like I named before, colorism, texturism, featureism, and I think that if we're too busy within our own selves, like talking about stuff that doesn't even really matter, like I think a lot of the times people are like, well, you're not Black enough. Like I know I've been told personally, well, you're not Black enough because you speak a certain way or because you carry yourself a certain way, and I would want the change to be where it's like we don't automatically like associate being black with this like ghetto, loud, trashy image that society has created for us.
And I feel a lot of the time it's us that has to do that. Like we can't really like rely on anybody. If we don't start today, it's never going to start, period. You know what I mean? Like I again have been called whitewashed and I speak white, but like it kind of messed with me when I was younger because I didn't know who I was then. You know, was I too posh for these people or was I too ghetto for these people? You know, it caused a lot of confusion. And I think one thing we need to do is normalize that there's not one way to be black. You know. And I just want to speak on, first of all, shout out Issa Rae because I feel like she really brought to light that there's more than one type of black. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally understand that. I personally, growing up obviously in a PWI, my middle school years were very, very hard and COVID definitely plays an effect, but I didn't feel black enough to go to the Black affinity space for black people. And it was hard because I like was doing that kind of myself, but then also like there was other like stereotypes that I've heard like of me like because I'm so fair skinned, and it was hard. Like I did not know which place to go because I felt too white or too black. Like it was not fun. So yeah.
Something as simple as like toy companies, they had like dolls and they're always portrayed as like white people and like, oh man, this white person is super duper pretty. And when Doc McStuffins came out, like the TV show, I think that was a really good pivotal point. Just go like, hey, we're here too and we're pretty cool.
Yeah. Or even the black dolls, like they all have like afros.
Yeah.
Yes, or braids.
One of my white friends picked one up and was like, oh, I'm gonna fix her hair. Fix? What do you mean fix her hair?
Fix?
Yeah.
This is just my hair.
Yeah.
Like